In 1 week, if you want to get on a plane anywhere in the United States, you're going to need one of these, a real ID. That's because the deadline is here. After years and years of delays, starting on May 7th, you will need to have a real ID or a passport to get on a plane, even if you're traveling between states. You will also need to have a real ID to enter any federal building. Now, this is happening because Congress passed a law back in 2005 that set a standard for all states to follow when it comes to issuing identification cards for everyone. The law was supposed to take effect, and we were all supposed to have these real IDs back in 2020, but the implementation of the law got pushed back several times because of the pandemic. But now, the delays are over, and the deadline to get a real ID is coming next week. So, how do you know if the license that's in your wallet right now is a real ID? Well, a real ID will have a star or a bear with a star in the top corner of the card. That symbol will either be gold or black. To get a real ID, you're going to have to visit your state's driver's licensing agency, like a DMV. Every state has some variation of the required documents to get a real ID, but at the minimum, to get a real ID, the law says you must provide documentation of full legal name, date of birth, social security number, 2 proofs of address of principal residence, and lawful status. Some states require more documentation, so make sure you check with your state's DMV website to figure out what exactly you need. Now, chances are if you live in certain states like Florida, Georgia, Hawaii, Texas, Colorado, Nebraska, Maryland, Utah, South Dakota, Indiana, Vermont, Wyoming, and Washington, D.C., you probably already have a real ID because any new ID that was issued in those states in the last few years was a real ID. But since the real ID deadline has been pushed back so many times, it's been optional for states to force their citizens to comply. So there are millions of people in lots of different states that do not have a real ID yet. And we are already seeing reports of serious delays in those states where people are scrambling to get their real ID. Several DMVs are reporting that there are lines out the door and no appointments available for weeks or months. Now, if you don't fly or you don't have to enter a federal building, you don't need to get a real ID yet. But when your license comes up for renewal, you will have to get one. And if you are traveling after May 7th and you don't have a real ID, you will need to have a passport to get on the plane. If you travel after May 7th and you don't have a real ID and you don't have a passport, TSA says you can expect to face delays, additional screenings, and the possibility of not being allowed through the security checkpoint and not getting on that plane. So if you want more information about the real ID, I'm going to email all that out to you in my next Facts HQ email, so make sure you sign yourself up.